So, hello everybody. I'm Richard Gon of Work to Live podcast version. So I couldn't pronounce hello everybody well. So let me speak out hello everybody again. So hello everybody. I'm Richard Gon of Work to Live podcast version. So in this time you can hear. I think you can hear some noises or voices from the outside of this residence. So this time, what I'd like to talk about is how to raise the proficiencies of English language. So I'm going to tell. So maybe I think I should tell you the title. And I think I should tell you the title of this episode. So this time the title is "Do you like English so much?" Here I created the content for raising the proficiencies of English language. So before explaining the actual content of that content, so before actually describing what is written in that content or in that article, so let me tell you things about an episode I created in the past. So in the past, I created an episode. Of course, so I have created many episodes of my podcast, and one of the episodes is about what is necessary to get higher proficiency of English language. And this time I created a written version, or I created an article describing the details about how to get higher proficiency of English language. So when I created this article, I was thinking of maintenanceability of this article, which is because nowadays, or maybe I think in the past, or in the far past actually. So many people have studied English language. So before English language became the international language, French language was the international language in the past, before the position of current English language as the international language. Anyway, so thinking about which, so nowadays, or recently, many people have studied English language, and maybe you may be studying English language, and I'm sorry for the noise coming into this episode, but actually, please enjoy this episode, including that noise or that voices. Anyway, so what I was talking about is maintenanceability of this article. So I'm thinking of raising, or I'm thinking of continuously improving this article, or this content. So which is written about how to raise the proficiency of English language. So what I do in this article, what I wanted to do, one of the things is a better explanation for explaining, or for describing things. What I'd like to tell you. So what I'd like to tell you, one of the things what I'd like to tell you is that there's not such a thing as linguistic distances between English language and other languages. For example, some Asian people, or some Asian learners say that they are not so good at English language because their mother tongues are really distant or really far away from English language or other Western languages. But actually, so what I'd like to introduce, or what I'd like to introduce with this article is that some of course there may be some distances in between languages, between other languages and English language, but actually it's possible even though your language is really far away from or really different from English language. For example, my mother tongue is Japanese, or an Asian language, but actually of course my language is really far away from English language, but some Japanese people, of course it's up to you whether you think I'm speaking English well, or I'm speaking really well actually, but actually so I can't speak English natively, but actually so there's I think it's up to your decision. But actually, many Japanese people can speak English language sufficiently enough to communicate with native speakers of English language, which is a contemporary situation, or which is the present situation of this country, or native speakers of Japanese language. Anyway, so which means, for example, in this article, I introduced some countries in which Western language or Western European languages are used. For example, in the case of Latin American countries, Spanish language is used. And for example, so in the case of, so what I'd like to tell you is that, so not imagine you can't know the proficiencies of the local people in Latin American countries, but this time I embedded I embedded a web page in which you can see the proficiencies of many countries. And so taking a look at that embedded web page, not the article I created this time, or the article I'm talking about in this episode, but actually, so what I'm talking about is the web page embedded in the article I created this time. So by accessing that web page, so you can take a look at, or you can take a look at a list of proficiencies of each country, and taking a look at the proficiencies of Latin American countries. Some Latin American countries have lower proficiencies than Japan. So thinking about taking into consideration the fact that some Spanish languages are used in many Latin American countries, and taking also into consideration the facts that so Portuguese language is used in Brazil. So and including the facts that those the proficiencies of those Latin American countries are lower than that of Japan. So that means that that it's possible to say that. For example, let me introduce some parts of my content this time. So what I'd like to tell you is that, so the local people are not so not engaged. The local people are not so industrious, or the local people are not so diligent, or such a fact can be, in fact, of course, so there are many, I think there are many industrious, or there are many diligent or serious people in Latin American countries. But actually, so when it comes to studying English language, the majority people, or most people do not like studying English language, which I think is the case to each Latin American country. So, and another factor which can be inferred is that they are not so rich, which means so I wrote this one in the article I created, in the written article I created this time, that what is necessary for raising your proficiencies are time and money. So time and money are necessary. Time and money are necessary for raising, or for heightening, or raising or growing the proficiency or the skill of English language you have. So which is what I wrote in that article. So to start with, that is the conclusion. Or time and money are necessary, which is the conclusion of that article I created this time. So so thinking, and moreover, according to the website I embedded in that article, and the website is EFFPI, and that is, so this time I am embedded the version of 2021. Anyway, so by taking a look at the ranking, or by taking a look at the list, so for example, Portugal and Spain have Portugal and Spain have higher proficiencies than Latin American countries, but they use the same languages. For example, Portugal uses Portuguese language, and Brazil uses Portuguese language. But so which is why So if there's a if for example if linguistic distance or linguistic differences have significant influence in the proficiency of English language, it's possible to say it's possible that both of those two countries, or in this case Portuguese, and those two countries are Portuguese and Brazil, and those two countries can be ranked into higher positions, for example in the website. But actually, the fact is different from what I have just told you, which means so Brazilian people have lower proficiencies than Japanese people living in Japan. And that is also the case to the countries speaking Spanish language, which is what I introduced, which is one of the ideas I introduced in the article I created this time. I'm introducing this time in this episode. And another example is Belgium and France. So in the case of the proficiencies of Belgium and France of English language, so Belgium has maybe this is what I memorized, but actually so maybe Belgium had higher proficiency or higher skill of English language compared to the local people in France. So by thinking about which, and their rankings are not so close, but their rankings are maybe Belgian people are ranked into very high, and French people are ranked into or categorized into high. So what if you can't find out what I'm talking about? If you can't understand what I'm talking about, please take a look at the embedded article. And finally, so what I'd like to, as I have told you minutes before, so the finally, what I'd like to tell you in that article, or in this episode, in another episode I introduced, but actually, and that episode is, and that episode is what I used for extracting the article or the written version. Anyway, so if you can't understand which episode I'm talking about, and if you get confused about with what I'm talking about, please take a look at please take a look at the description column of this episode, so that you can find us a written version I created this time, and including the episode of podcast I was talking about this time, and that episode of podcast is different from this one. And anyway, please take a if you confused which episode and which article I am talking about, please take a look at the description column of this episode, so that you can clarify which article or which content I'm talking about. And finally, the conclusion is that time and money are necessary. So if you'd like to the details of that article, please take a look at the description column of this episode, so that you can access, or so that you can find out which website to access. And finally, let me sum up what I have talked about this time. So sum up, or before actually ending this episode, because I'm thinking of ending this recording or this episode. So the title of this article is, or not article, the title of this episode of podcast is, so do you like English so much? Here I created a content for raising proficiencies of English language, and by taking a look at the description column of this episode, so you can find out the content I wrote this time. And so and this time I also thought about the maintainability of that article. So in the beginning or in the middle of this episode, I said that I thought about the maintenance ability, but actually so in my country I use or people use maintenance for maintenance in the case of the usages of verbs, or in the forms of verbs. The local people use maintenance as verbs. But actually, so maintainability is a correct word for English language, and so whichever you imagine, like maintenance-ability or maintainability, or any words are fine to imagine. But actually, what the concept I'm explaining is the same stuff. And this time, I was thinking of maintainability of this article. So which means I'm thinking of raising or growing up this written version, or this written article, or this written content. So please understand. Please know this one. So maybe I'm thinking of ending this episode. And anyway, so that's it. Thank you very much for your listening. See you.